Alright, hey everybody. Welcome to lesson 4C, graphing lines with y equals mx plus b. That probably sounds like a bunch of gibberish to you right now, and it should. By the end of today's lesson, however, you'll be able to work with this equation. Now, before I dive into what this even means and how to use it, let's recall from last lesson. So from last lesson, we took an equation. So for example, let's say we had y equals 2x plus 1. Okay. Then we filled out a table of values. So I think the numbers we used were 0, 2, 4, 6. So let's plug in those numbers. So we plugged in those numbers to find the corresponding y values. So 0 times 2 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Then we plotted those points. So 0, 1, that's 1 point. 2, 5, that's another. 4, 9, that's another. 6, 13, and so forth. Then we connected those dots and we drew a line. Now, that seems like a lot of work for simply drawing a line. There must be an easier way. And that's where this equation comes in. And you will see this equation for the next 2 years, 3 years, drawing a line. Now, what do these letters mean, first off? Well, the y and the x correspond to the same x, same y, and they also correspond with the table of values, the xy points, when we graph them. Okay, so we don't have to worry about those just yet. These other two, however, we do. So this m represents our slope. And I'll tell you what that means in a second. And this value here represents our y-intercept. Okay. And again, I'll tell you what that means in a bit. So, how do we use these to graph? Well, I am going to use the exact same equations we had in from the last lesson, where we used the table of values. If you notice, if you took a look at this sheet compared to the last lesson, in fact, let me open up the last lesson. So, graphing with table of values. Okay, so this was the last lesson, sheet 4B, right? This is today's lesson. If you notice, the first equation, y equals 2 over 3x plus 1, is the exact same equation as this. The second equation we had was y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 1, and again, exact same equation. Now, instead of using the table of values, which is this table here, you can see that I've deleted them. And I'm going to show you a much easier way to graph without using the table of values. And that's using y equals mx plus b. So, this value is what we call our y-intercept. Okay. This is just a fancy way of saying this is where our line intercepts or crosses the y-axis. Okay. So, if I look at this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. So this means that I am not sure where this line is. So for example, where I cross my y-axis. So let's label 1 first. So there's 1, right? Which means my line could either be like that, it could be like that, it could be, oh, that's not a really great line, but it could be like that. I'm not sure. The only thing I know so far, based on that, is the fact that my line will cross at that point. Now, let me just delete these lines. Okay. That is where this value becomes helpful. This is our slope. Okay. And for now, you can view slope as our direction. Okay, it tells us where to go starting at the y-axis. Okay. Now the slope can be rewritten as rise over run. Okay. Now what does that mean? Rise just simply means how far you go up. Run means how far you go across. Okay, now this is a very simple explanation of slope. We will be spending a lot of time focusing on the word slope. Now, let's use this information to draw this line. So ideally, we should be able to recreate the exact same line as the last lesson. So starting at 1, the top number represents our rise, right? Rise, rise. That means starting there, I'm going to go up 2. So 1, 2. Okay. And then our run is 3. Run is 3. That means up 2, 1, 2, and then over 3, 1, 2, 3. That means this will be my next point. So up 2, up 2, and then over 3. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. I got 2 points so far. So from here, I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 1, 2, 3. Here's another point. Up 2, 1, 2, over 3, 1, 2, 3. So once you have about 4 to 5 points, I could just draw a line that hopefully crosses through all 4 of those points. It's not the greatest line, but that means this line is represented by this equation. Now, if you were to refer back to your last worksheet that you did, so if you have it handy, take a look at it. It should be the exact same graph as the one you drew here. Okay? So let's try this again. But for the next example, now I try to keep the colors the same. This is our y-intercept. Okay, I'm just going to put y-int, but y-intercept. That means I start at 1. Okay, so this, now let's change this to blue. This is my slope, which means negative 3 over 2 is going to be my rise over run. Again, this is my up, this is my across. Okay, so from this point, now it says negative 3 though. That means I'm not going up by 3. Instead, I'm going down by 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then my run, I'm going across by 2. It's a positive 2, isn't it? It's a positive 2, yes. So go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, 2. That's my next point. Okay. Now I don't need to show that it goes, I don't need to draw it like I did here. That was just to show you. But from that point, I go down 3 over 2. I do the same thing. Down 3 over 2. Down 3 over 2. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2. Okay. And sorry, I'm just going to move this down a little bit. Okay. And once again, 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2. There you go. And, oh, let me try to draw this line. Drawing lines on this computer is hard. So let's try. Use a ruler, please use a ruler. I don't know how to use a ruler on this just yet, but let's assume that's a straight line. Okay, this is a horrible, horrible looking line. I will find a better way to draw lines on this computer at a later date. Anyways, that's it. Okay, so let me do one more for you, because I can already hear the questions about this one. So for this question here, the steps are the same. First off, the y-intercept is at positive 1, so positive 1. And my slope is 2, wait, shouldn't there be a number underneath? Yes, there should. If there's no number underneath, you can assume it's divided by 1. Okay, which means my slope is equal to 2 over 1, which is my rise over my run, rise over my run. So starting at my 1, which is my y-intercept, I'm going to go up to 1, 2, and then over 1. So that's my point. Again, up to 1, 2 over 1. Up to 1, 2 over 1. Up to 1, 2 over 1. And again, here we go again. Connect the dots. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to try that one again. Still not great. Ideally, it should be crossing each of those dots. Okay, but you get the idea. Now, same thing would apply here. This should be negative 2 over 1. Okay, any questions? Please post on your math questions. Yeah, see you guys.